Welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host and professional career coach, Lorraine. Join me as I guide you through an amazing journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you are looking for work, changing careers, or stuck in a toxic job, then this is the show for you. I offer both practical and spiritual guidance to help you up-level and advance your career. Let's start the uprising. Hey everybody, you are listening to episode 19, How to Make the Salary That You're Worth. Hey out there, how is everybody doing? I'm Lorraine and I'm back for another week. So thank you for tuning in and sharing this time with me today. Boy, the second half of the year is just in full swing. 2018 is flying by. Things are really moving right along here for me. I don't know about you, but I'm so glad that you joined me today, whether you're listening live, because we are broadcasting live, as we usually do, or if maybe down the road you're listening to this in the archives. Either way, I'm so glad you're here. And we had such a good show last week. I got immediate feedback, really, from a couple of people who listened to last week's show, which was all about career burnout and job stress and how to manage it without even necessarily having to leave the job that you're in. And I love all of my shows, of course, but I have to say that one was probably one of my favorites. And I think it was just a universal topic. Everyone knows about job stress. We've all experienced it at some time. And I think it was a show for everybody. And actually, one of my international listeners, she messaged me on Facebook right afterwards to say that she was listening to the show and she's been mega stressed out. I've been kind of connecting with her on Facebook, as I love to do with a lot of my listeners. So if you're not in my community, in my Facebook group, you should be, because I'm there quite often. I love to answer questions, help people kind of coach them a little bit through Facebook, and put extra resources in there too. So it's a great place to hang out if you love the show. That's my Facebook group, Career Uprising. So you can find us there. But she messaged me to say that she was listening and kind of update me on her situation. So that was awesome. I love getting that feedback from you guys. So today we're going to really totally switch gears. And our topic is how to make the salary that you're worth. But another one I think too that really is going to appeal to a lot of people. This is definitely a pain point for a lot of job seekers and even business owners too. We all want to be able to make the salary that we want. And, that's our topic today is no matter what you're doing, how can you negotiate for more and feel confident in it? So if you are tired of being underpaid, or maybe you feel uncomfortable asking your boss for a raise, you don't know how to go about that conversation, or maybe you're expecting to have some job offers coming up, hopefully, any of those situations, then this show is going to help you. Or maybe you're just not even sure how to price the job that you want and what it's worth, because that's actually the first step. So we're going to address that as well today. As usual, I have a pretty lofty agenda, so I'm going to try and walk you guys through as much of it as I can, since we have a full hour, and I want you to feel confident in all of those situations. And I want you to know that you don't have to accept a job for less than what you deserve and what that job is worth. But you have to know what that is. And you have to have the dialogue and the tools and the confidence really to approach this situation the right way. So today's episode, I think, will help a lot of people, no matter what you do for a living, no matter what field you're in. So we all need to have a good relationship with money. And I'm thinking too, going back, I did another episode on this, episode 10. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, that one's actually called Your Relationship with Money, which made me kind of think of that a little bit. So that's a good episode as kind of a companion, I would say, or a supplement to this one. But that's kind of our agenda today. So so thank you for tuning in. Good call on your part for joining me. I think I'm going to make it worthwhile for you. Now, before we get started, though, I do have one little quick favor to ask of you. Yes, you listening right now. This show and this network both are still really new. We're just still getting off the ground and we're really in growth mode. And we really want to try to get the word out. So I want to take a minute to ask a favor of you guys. If you love what you hear, if you are a fan of this show, and I'm assuming that you are if you're listening, if you have benefited at all from any of the episodes of Career Uprising, please tell other people, spread the word. It would mean so much to me and to everyone on this network because there's so many good shows on here. We've got at least, 10, 11 shows, something like that, and more in the pipeline, I'm sure. But tell your friends and your family about Inflow Radio and about Career Uprising. Tell them it's the best hot new thing out there, right? If you think that's true, of course. But, a great way to kind of pay it forward too is if you have an iTunes account, you can do a review of the show. I would so appreciate that. If you feel that you've been inspired or benefited in any way, that's a way that you can kind of pay it forward. And if you don't have an iTunes account, maybe we can figure something else out. You can send me a little review or do a Facebook recommendation or anything like that. But I would love to know your feedback. If you are loving this show, you can always email me directly too. It's Lorraine at careeruprising.com. That's one of my many email addresses. I have too many, but you can find the show a lot of places. I'm now on Spotify, TuneIn.com, Google Play. I believe I'm on iHeartRadio as well. There's a lot of different outlets that you can listen and possibly leave a review. Your feedback and your support for this whole network is so appreciated, and it does make a difference. All right. And karma will repay you. I'm sure of it. I'm sure it will. So I just wanted to make that quick little plea and little note. And I thank you so much in advance for your feedback, your reviews, your subscribes, everything that you guys are doing to make this show and this whole network to be a success. So exciting to be kind of one of the founding members at the early stage, but we couldn't do it without you guys, the listeners. So thank you. All right. So man, it has been an awesome couple of weeks for my business for Work Smart Career Counseling because I had a couple of really great success stories from clients finding work recently. And of course, that's always my end goal. So I'm so excited when I get really good success stories. And there were two clients just in the last, 30 days or so that I worked with that found jobs really quickly within about, 60 days or so. And the cool thing is, too, that both of them were unemployed for a period of time. One of them went through my Career Jumpstart program, which is a little bit shorter. And then one went through my Career Transformation, which is kind of my big mama, my premium package. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned to you guys that I do have a third program option. I don't feel like I talk about this one quite as much, but it's called Master the Job Search. And I feel like I haven't offered this to people as much. So I want to offer it to you for just a minute in case this appeals to you. This is not so much a coaching program. This one's more about the documents. So if you have a clear idea of what job you're looking for and how to kind of navigate the job search, maybe you're not necessarily looking for coaching, but you need help crafting your documents, the resume, the cover letter, the LinkedIn profile, maybe even a bio. That's what this program is about. And you would work with one of my team members to have all of those documents written for you, done for you, taken off your plate. So if you are busy, you don't have the time, desire, ability to make all the edits and updates and have amazing career documents, that's what that program is about, Master the Job Search. So shoot me an email, again, at Lorraine at careeruprising.com if that appeals to you. But it just kind of occurred to me, I haven't really offered that, but that is an option. If you're not necessarily looking for coaching, you're looking for the resume writing and the documents, that's out there as well. But yeah, I've had a couple of great success stories, and it's just been an awesome couple of weeks. So I don't know what's new with you guys, but that's kind of what's going on here. And speaking of clients too, one of the things that I think from thinking about these success stories, one of the things that I think that I hear the most from them is, I wish I'd found you sooner. I wish I had, taken action sooner or something like that. Whenever I talk to people who've gone through the whole program, they've got their job, I'm like, would you do anything different? Do you have any feedback? Yes, I wish I had done it sooner. So if you are kind of listening now, sitting on the sidelines, thinking about getting help, you have a goal, you need a new job, whatever it might be, consider what it would be like to have a coach and a guide and to not have to go through the whole process alone. New results require new actions. And that's how these success stories have come to be. These clients who are getting the results they want because they took a new action and decided to do something they had never done before and get help, something kind of bold and gutsy, right? And a lot of times that's what you need to do to get results, okay? So I would always on the hunt for more success stories. And one of them you're going to be hearing more from very soon. I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the very end of the show when I give you a sneak peek of what's coming next week, because we're going to change it up a little bit next week. It's going to be a little bit different than most shows, and I'm really excited. So stay tuned for the whole show. I'm going to give you a little preview of that. But for right now, just so you know, this is a live show, so you can call in. You can talk to me if you want. I would love that. Ask me questions. Tell me what's going on in your career so I can offer you a little bit of on-the-spot coaching and guidance. And especially if you have any hang-ups or issues about money, your salary, negotiations, raises, even performance reviews, things like that, I'd love to know. This would be a great show to call in for that. But no matter what it is, if you feel moved to do so, the number is 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277. Okay. So I think I mentioned to you guys that I intentionally kind of set the stage a couple of weeks ago for this show with episode 10 called Your Relationship with Money. And I did that on purpose, knowing that I was going to do this show as well. So I want to build upon that today. Once you have a good, healthy mindset around money, which is your foundation, you need that as your foundation. All right. If you're going to go into a job offer or a raise negotiation, you have to have a good foundation and relationship with money, because that really is the root cause for all of your problems or successes with money, whichever one you're having at the moment. It doesn't matter. It all goes back to your mindset. All right. So that's what that show was mostly about, was your mindset. So let's build on that today and get a little bit more into kind of the practical, nitty gritty aspects of asking for more money. All right. So like I said, you can always go back and listen to episode 10 if you want, but let's dig in to this topic. Okay. So salary negotiations. Oh my gosh, make so many people uncomfortable. And I know that I used to completely avoid it as well. I don't anymore. I feel a lot more comfortable going into any kind of course, I'm not really negotiating salaries now, but I'm always talking about money. I'm talking about money with clients and prospects who want to come on board, and they have their own either baggage or relationship with money, whether it's good or bad. And that kind of comes into play with me. So this is still really very relevant for me, but as I got further along in the days when I was job searching, I could tell I was getting a lot more confident around this. And your confidence plays such a big role in the outcome. It really, really does. So that's my goal today, is help to boost your confidence and your knowledge in all of this. Okay. So let's talk about what your first step would be. I think that would be research. You have to know what the job is worth in order to feel confident in even approaching the situation. All right. And so knowing what a job is worth, this is where job seekers really are, I hate to say it, at a disadvantage. And I think you know that, right? You probably know that it is hard to come by really reliable information around salaries or know if it's reliable. Because here's the flip side of it. Okay. So companies, larger ones too, in particular, they have access, they can purchase access to what's called salary surveys. All right. And if you've never been in, HR hiring, you may not know what those are. But it basically just means that they can participate in these surveys of salary. So they can share what they pay for their jobs and then also get access to what their competitors are paying and get intelligence about what jobs are worth out on the market, with various different locations and things like that. So it's basically a way for them to kind of see what the competition is paying for similar roles. So that's kind of a high level overview, but those are salary surveys. All right. Companies have access to them very frequently. So now there's a lot more data, of course, that goes into that, but it's basically a way for them to benchmark salaries and see where they fall and then determine a compensation strategy from there. Do we want to be above market, right on the average? Are we going to have to be below market average? They can kind of determine a strategy from there. So as you can imagine, here's the thing about determining the worth of a job on the market monetarily. It is so much more complicated than you might think. There are so many factors that they have to consider to make it kind of an apples to apples comparison. And here's just a few of those factors. Location, this is a big one, with cost of living and things like that. So jobs vary tremendously in salary geographically. Experience level, education level, the company's size, they want to be pricing it competitively, compared to however many employees they have. That makes a difference. And then simply their budget and their ability to pay, because quite often a company may know what their competitors pay, and that doesn't mean they can or will pay that. Depending again on their size, they may or may not have the resources to be competitive. That's why sometimes you get offers that are lower, and it's really the best they can do, even though they know other jobs are paying higher. It happens. So sometimes smaller companies just don't have the resources to compete, but they often sometimes can make up for that with other benefits and other perks and having a great company culture, more time off, things like that. So you have to kind of consider all of those things in your compensation package. But then sometimes also companies intentionally pay more than the market average. They kind of spoil you, and that's their strategy, their way of attracting new talent. And I've actually worked with a couple of clients who, there's one company in particular that pays really higher than normal salaries, and that's all good. That sounds great for you, but the problem that can create down the road is when you leave, you are not likely to get that again. You may have to take a pay cut because you were above average, and not every company is necessarily going to be willing to match you with that just because you were making that. So like I said, it's complicated. There's a lot of things that you have to consider in there. It's not just, okay, you were making this much, so you're definitely going to get that or more at your next job. Hopefully so, but you have to consider where you fall in the marketplace. So and then sometimes I have found, this isn't always the case, but I have found a lot of times through what I hear from clients that those companies that pay those higher than normal salaries, they make up for it by demanding a lot from you. Those are often the companies that have really demanding work cultures and like work you to death. Not always, but I can think of a couple offhand that I've had clients say that is absolutely the case. So it's, again, you have to consider the entire opportunity, not just the salary. All right. So which kind of brings me to what I want to say next. So for you then, as the job seeker, you need to know what matters most to you. So you need to do a little bit of internal research, right? Is salary the number one thing that you are considering? If so, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that if you have a certain number that you need. But I'm going to outline for you in just a minute a little method, a little exercise for kind of working through that and knowing what target salary you want to ask for. All right. So hopefully that'll be helpful for you. But first, let's kind of learn a little bit more about how to price a job out on the marketplace so that you know if you're in the right ballpark or not. Okay. So there's a couple of online resources that you can go to. And the most famous one, of course, that's probably coming to your mind is Glassdoor. That's a really, really common one. They've kind of become known for not even so much being a job board, but for the salaries. That's really where people go for that. There's also salary.com as well. So here's my take on those, okay? Because I do get a lot of questions from job seekers. Can I use these resources? Yeah, of course you can. These things are fine. But what I'm going to advise you to do is vary your sources. Don't rely just on any one. Don't rely just on Glassdoor. Don't rely just on salary.com. All right, go to a couple of places and make sure that you're seeing trends and seeing the same numbers over and over again. I think that that is a good idea anytime that you are doing research on virtually anything. You always want to cross-reference the information and make sure that you're not just limiting yourself to one source, okay? Now, a lot of people don't know that fairly recently, I'd say in the last year, LinkedIn has entered the salary research arena, and they now have what they call a new salary insights feature. If you pay for premium. So you do have to pay for premium, but I have used it a number of times. I do think it is a very good resource. I'm a fan of that one. So it's very easy to use, and it lets you kind of customize it with experience, level, location, but the other ones do too. So I would say just make sure you're going to more than one place. Another resource that you may not be as familiar with is ONET. I've mentioned it before on the show. So if you've been listening, that might sound familiar. O stands for occupation, ONET. I made a really big stink about this website. I think it was in the Changing Careers 3-part series that I did. It's a great website when you're doing any kind of research on new career paths, occupations, and salaries as well. Now, this information is coming from a completely different place than Glassdoor or salary.com, which are mostly just, people kind of crowdsourcing, putting in their own information. This comes from the Department of Labor. All right. So it's not self-reported from other websites. So I would strongly recommend going to onetonline.org. That's onetonline.org. Give that site a look as well if you're doing some salary research. Okay. So that's one little tidbit there that you may not already know about. And once you've gone to several places, if you start to see the same number over and over again, then you're probably getting pretty close. And you can probably feel pretty confident that you're in the right range. All right. So, but here's one other thing too, that you probably didn't think to consider that is even more accurate than probably any of these. And that's your personal network, actually talking to real people. So here again is where I'm going to kind of harp on the importance of connecting with more than just the Wi-Fi at Starbucks, right? Actual people. This is critical in a lot of different ways for job searches, not just for networking purposes, but also for salary insights. All right. So here's what I mean. So if you know someone who is in the position or the line of work that you are applying for, I want you to consider asking them for guidance. And this doesn't mean that you have to outright ask them what they make, what their salary is. You don't have to do that. There is a very simple, very non-invasive way to do this. Here's what that might sound like. I'm a dialogue queen. I love giving people dialogue. It's just how I think. It's kind of weird, I know. But here's how that conversation might go, okay? Hey, Susie, I was hoping you could help me. As you know, I'm applying for jobs as an executive assistant, and I'm not sure what salary range to ask for. I know that you, though, have experience in that field. So based on the research I've done so far online, I'm planning on asking for about $65,000. Can you tell me if I'm at least on the right track? There you go. How about that? I didn't ask her for her salary, but I did ask her for her guidance, her advice, her expertise. People like that. They're willing to give that. And I'm still getting some information and some guidance if I'm on the right track. So adapt that as you need, but consider actually using that dialogue to talk to people who either are in the line of work or have been in the line of work that you are in to see if you're in the right ballpark. This is really reliable. I mean, this is coming right from the mouths of people who do that work. You really can't get any better than that, okay? And it's very, very simple. I think for obvious reasons, getting salary advice from an actual person is going to be the most reliable method. So make sure you're throwing that strategy into the mix as well, in addition to looking online. We always want to vary our sources. Okay. So now that you know how to do some research, once you know the general range and general value of the job that you want, you need to determine where you want or need to be within that range based on your needs, based on your previous salary history. You know, you may not necessarily go right for whatever you're seeing out there, and you might be on the low end, the middle end, the high end. You're going to see ranges, okay? So this is where I might want you to take out a piece of paper and a pen, right? Take some notes. So prior to any negotiation, I want you to determine your personal desired range by focusing on these three numbers. Okay. So number one, we have your ideal number. Okay. So this is the highest possibility that you're hoping for. This is like your best case scenario. All right. It's not necessarily what you think they'll pay, maybe, but we're going to try. This is kind of like the stretch number. Maybe that's another word for it. This is ideal best case scenario. All right. Number two, though, I want you to have a target number. So this is the most realistic possibility. It's kind of in the middle range. This is very likely what you think they probably will pay you. You're going to try and get a little bit more, but this is the number that you think when all is said and done is very realistic, and it's kind of your target. And then three, I also want you to have a deal breaker number. This number is the lowest that you will accept. All right. So you'll still take the job for this amount, but this is where you draw the line. Because whenever you enter a negotiation, you want to know what's my number I'm going to walk away on. What will I not go below? All right. That way you can make a quick and intelligent and informed decision when you do hear what their number is. So you need to be really clear within yourself first what your ideal number is, your best case scenario, your target kind of middle of the road number that you'd still be very happy with, and your deal breaker, what you won't go below. All right. So for example, let's run some numbers. So say you'd like to make 80,000. Okay. Then I want you to make your ideal number a little higher, maybe 85, 87, something like that. Go a little bit higher, knowing that you will probably get talked down from it. Then maybe your deal breaker number might be a little bit below, maybe 75,000. So that puts 80,000 actually right where you want it in the middle as your target number. Make sense? So we're intentionally kind of going a little bit higher, anticipating that, you know, you're probably going to have to come down. Ultimately, though, arriving at the number that you wanted all along, right? That's our goal, of course. Good stuff. Okay, so we have a ton more to get into, but I think this is a good stopping point for a minute. We're going to take just a quick commercial break. And when we come back, you will learn my 3 rules for every salary negotiation. Yes, I have rules. And I will give you some more word for word dialogue for your next job offer. You won't want to miss it, guys. Okay, we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes. Thanks. While the show takes a short break, I want to tell you how you can work with me personally as your career coach. My signature program, Career Transformation, is perfectly designed for clients who are going through a major career transition. If you're changing fields, returning to the workforce after an absence, or maybe you're undecided on a career path, then this is the program for you. Through the coaching process, we'll gain clarity on your path and craft a job search strategy to support your big career move. If that sounds amazing, take action now by heading over to my website, worksmartcounseling.com. That's worksmart, counseling.com, to learn more about the Career Transformation Program and apply for a phone call with me. All right, let's get back to the show. I'd love to answer your questions. Give me a call in today's episode, recorded live, by dialing the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277, and let's see how we can improve your career. All right, we are back. Thank you, guys. We are back and we're moving right along on how to make the salary that you are worth. Sounds so good, and so many people just believe it's not possible, it's not likely, but I'm telling you that it is. I have coached a handful of people through this process, and of course, I've been there myself in the past. So I definitely can help you. It is definitely possible. And so what we did just before the break was we outlined how to do some initial salary research online and within your own network, which is crucial. And then for yourself, how to do some kind of internal research and determine the number that you want or need based on your own situation and based on what you know the job will likely pay. So now you're ready to actually enter into a negotiation. Exciting, right? Maybe for me, I'm a job search nerd. I love this stuff, so it's exciting for me. And I promised you my 3 rules of salary negotiations. So here they are, okay? Take some notes, folks. All right, number 1, try to delay the conversation as long as possible, hopefully until an offer is made, okay? You have the most negotiating power at the time of the offer being made, but before you accept it, of course. So that little window of time in there is when you have the most power. That's your ideal situation and time to negotiate it. So here's the thing. Discussing salary too early can leave you at a disadvantage because you actually have less information about the position. You gain more and more information as you go through the interview process, and they also start to know you and like you more. So there's more of a rapport and a relationship when you get to that stage as well. And, it's more likely if you talk about it early in the process that you're going to get locked into something lower than what you really want. And I have seen this happen. It absolutely, believe me, if you give a number, early in the process, don't be shocked when you get an offer and it's that exact number. And they're like, well, you said that was what you wanted, So if at all possible, we want to avoid giving a number too soon. All right. And, so when you, like I said, when you go through the interview process, that's when you learn more. And sometimes you might want to change your number based on things that you learn about the position, because prior to that, all you really have is a job description. And that's really not always enough. to really know and get a sense of what is the scope of responsibility for this job. All right. Now, I can hear what you're saying, and trust me, I know what you're thinking. I'd love to delay the conversation, but it's not always possible. They don't always make it easy on you. And trust me, I know that. Okay. Sometimes they're really annoying and they ask you right in the online application. Oh, yuck. I hate it when they do that. They do these days. So I will say that there again is another reason to not over rely on online job boards in your job search, because that's just another way it's going to come back to bite you. Okay. You're at an immediate disadvantage with that strategy. So if they ask you up front, what are your salary requirements in the application? You got to fill in that annoying little box with a red asterisk. It won't let you skip it. You may want to question whether or not you really want to work there. And if you do, well, you're just going to have to take your best guess. Based on the research you've done, you're probably going to have to put in maybe that middle of the road number. I would not put in the highest number that you want in that case, unfortunately. Probably the target number in the middle. But so that's probably the best way to go. But you really may want to think about whether or not you really want to work for them, if that's how they're going to be. I can't stand that. I think it's poor form when they do that. And a lot of times they do that about asking if you've been fired as well. They may ask you that up front in the application. Ugh, I can't stand either of those things. But anyway, it's a reality these days of applying online. So it's something you're going to have to think about and deal with and decide, do I want to proceed? But the good employers don't do that. They don't all do that. There often are times, even now, in the age of online job boards, if you're working with people and if you're networking and maybe even working with recruiters, you'll be able to have a conversation with someone about this. And I'm going to teach you how to handle that in just a moment. We're going to get in a second to dialogue, and I will share with you how to overcome this in like a phone screen or an initial interview with a recruiter or something like that, when they do ask you and you want to kind of deflect. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But number one is try to delay the conversation until an offer is made. All right. I'm going to give you dialogue in a minute for that. Number two, ask the company to disclose their salary range first. And yes, you can absolutely do this. It's not pushy. It's not rude. You can absolutely do this. If the employer can ask you, you can ask them. They ask you all the time, right? They ask you right up front in the job application without even having a conversation. So it is completely fair for you to ask them, what is the company's budget? What is the range that they have in mind for this? And of course, I'm going to share some dialogue with you for that as well. I have dialogue for all of this, all right? And you can just take it if you love it, just as it is, or adapt it, whatever you need. It's my gift to you. But I'm going to share with you things that I have said with success, okay, in my own job searching days. There is a polite way to ask this and to navigate this. And if you can get even just a range or an idea, you will have so much more power in your negotiation. It is absolutely worth asking every time to at least see if they will be open and responsive, and sometimes they are. So do your due diligence for yourself. You owe it to yourself to at least ask them, can you share with me what is the budget or the range that the company has in mind? Now, you might not be successful every time in getting a number out of them, but sometimes you will. And the bottom line here is that whoever gives their number first loses. We say that in sales a lot. The first person to talk loses. And that really is true in this case. Okay. So number two, ask the company to disclose their salary range first. All right. Number three, you can always go down, but you can never go up. And so this is a slippery slope, but it's true. As I outlined kind of before the break, ideally, you do want to make your request slightly on the high end, not completely out of the question where they're going to go, whoa, well, that's not realistic, but slightly on the high end, just enough to, still be in the right ballpark, but push them maybe a little bit outside of their comfort zone, knowing that they will likely talk you down. Now, they may not. You might get surprised. They may accept it. But even if you do get talked down a little bit, at least you did it on purpose, right? So that way you're still happy with what you accept. And like I said, don't go crazy here. Just make it a little bit higher, still reasonable, still in the ballpark. Okay. But really, I think the worst thing that you can do is lowball yourself and then realize afterward that you could have gone higher, because you really can't go higher. If you say 80 and then, come back later when they offer to you and now you want 90 or 95, that's going to be hard. Well, you said 80 before. What's changed? So you really, really have to be careful there. You can always go down, but you can never go up. But the reason I say it's a slippery slope too is because you don't want to go too high, because then they're going to be like, well, no, that's, we definitely can't do that. Or you may look like you're just too expensive or overqualified or something like that. There's a lot of moving parts here, and I can see why it drives people kind of crazy, but just use these 3 basic rules and the dialogue that I'm going to share with you momentarily, and it will make it easier. Okay. All right. Because, the other thing too is what I want to say with this is that it is absolutely okay if there is a little bit of resistance from the employer, okay, or a little bit of uncertainty, like, well, I'm not sure if we can do that. I might have to get approval. Let me talk to somebody. That's okay. Let them do that. Let them go through whatever hoops they have to jump through. It's okay if you push their boundaries just a little bit, right? If the employer immediately accepts your request with no hesitation, you went too low. And it's just like in sales. It really is. This is what we say in sales too. If the customer just buys right away, sure, yeah, that sounds great. You probably priced it a little bit too low. There should be a little bit of perhaps discomfort in there, and that is okay. It just means they're considering it. So keep that kind of in mind as well. Okay, so let's kind of round out this lesson with some dialogue for some specific situations, because I want to be able to really empower you to approach this with confidence and know what to say and not be caught off guard and go like, I don't know what to say. So a lot of people, I think this is where they struggle. They know what they want to say and they know what salary they want, but they don't know how to say it. And they're worried about maybe getting off on the wrong foot with the employer or making things awkward or uncomfortable. So what do you say we fix that? Right? Okay. So here's a scenario. So if they ask you for your salary range in the interview, like maybe a phone screen or initial interview, try saying this. My number one priority right now is to learn more about the organization and this role and determine if I'm the best match for your needs. Should an offer be extended, I'm happy to negotiate with you at that time, and I'm confident that we'll be able to reach an agreement. What do you think about that? Pretty reasonable, right? You're making an attempt to try and put it off. Just try. It may work, it may not, but you need to try. It's in your best interest. All right? So this may not work in every single case. And if it doesn't, and they press you for a number, and the worst that's going to happen is they're going to say, okay, well, in order to proceed, I really kind of need to know if we're in the ballpark. Can you give me a range or give me an idea? They may press you for a number. So at that point, that's where you try to get a number out of them first. So you might say, okay, I understand. I'm negotiable depending on the range that you are offering. Can you share with me what salary range the company is looking at for this role? And then I'll be happy to negotiate with you. Try that. Do your due diligence and ask them for a number. You're going to give them yours. Assure them of that. Sure, I'd be happy to let you know. I do have a range in mind, but first, I want to make sure that it's within your company's budget because I know budgets vary. Can you share with me what number or range the company has in mind? Try that, all right? Might have to rewind the tape and go back to this episode down the road when you need it, right? And I will say too, as kind of a bonus tip in there, when you do disclose a number, when that time comes, always try to give them a range and not a specific number, okay? This can make a difference. So come prepared with a range, and I would say like a 7,000 range, 5 to 7,000, somewhere in there, maybe a smidge more, 10 at the very most. Something, that's, we don't want to give like a $20,000 range, but I would say maybe around, say 50 to 57,000, something like that. That's going to be realistic. Okay. That gives you a little bit more power because then you're not necessarily locked into any specific number, and you can always try to push them to the upper part of that range. All right. So that range should be something that is realistic based on your research and that you would be comfortable accepting if they offer you. Don't ever quote anything that you're not willing to have them hold you to and then you're not willing to accept, because chances are good that they will come back and say, okay, here's what you said in the interview, that type of thing. So that's why it's so important for you to be clear on your priorities and how much this matters to you and what number it is that is your deal breaker that you won't go below. You need to be really, really clear on that. Okay, so here's one kind of unique situation, and this does happen sometimes. What if you are intentionally accepting a position that pays less than what you currently make? There's a lot of reasons why somebody might do this. Maybe salary is not the most important thing. Maybe they are changing fields and they know they're going to have to take a pay cut. There's a lot of different reasons why, but it does happen more often than you think that somebody wants to consider jobs that are maybe a break even or even less than what they made before. And there's always that worry of looking overqualified, looking too expensive, and then not even getting a chance. Okay. So here's some dialogue for that situation as well. You could say, well, to be honest, compensation is important, but it's not my only priority right now. I'm more concerned about finding a position that I can enjoy and grow in. If an offer is extended, I'm confident we can reach a fair agreement and a salary that works for both of us. Okay? Again, very reasonable response and very honest. So fill in the blank there, whatever it is that you are looking for. I just said, looking for a position that you can enjoy, you can grow in. You can say my priority right now is just to get a good baseline position in this new field of XYZ since I'm changing careers. That's really my goal. And I know I'm taking a little bit of a step back, but I'm okay with that in the short term for my long-term career growth, whatever it may be. Insert your own reason, okay? But just assure them that you are confident you can reach a fair agreement that works for everybody, but compensation is not the only thing that you're considering. And this is absolutely true sometimes. Okay. Man, we have covered a lot of ground. I feel like this is a lot of information, so I hope it's not overload for you guys, and I hope that you will kind of bookmark this episode and save it for a day when you might need it, because it might not be completely relevant to you right now if you're not getting ready to go into a negotiation. But come back to it, because this is timeless information. So, all right. So I hope you're digesting all of this. And I do have a couple, we're going to have to wrap up. Woo, only got a couple minutes left. So I do have a few more bonus little tips here. Okay. So keep in mind, here's the bonus tip. The company is going to expect you to negotiate. They do. Please know that this is a very normal process. Employers fully expect that you will probably negotiate your salary. You're not going to throw them for a loop with this, okay? So just normalize it and understand that it is perfectly okay and normal to go through this process. They're not going to revoke the offer just because you tried to negotiate your salary. Okay? They're not. Truly, the worst thing that will happen is they'll simply come back to you and say, I'm sorry, that's really the best we can do. And then you just have to decide if you still want the job or not. Okay? That is the worst that's going to happen. It's not going to hurt you to just try and negotiate, but it can absolutely hurt you if you don't negotiate at all. Not just in the short term, but also in the long run, because future offers will likely be negotiated based on what you made at this job. It's like a domino effect, okay? So that's a bonus tip. Companies expect you to negotiate. Remember that. Another one. Consider the total compensation package. All right. So if they can't meet you on salary, ask them about other benefits, time off, telecommuting, things like that. All right. There's more to compensation than just the base salary. There's bonuses. Sometimes there's commissions. And then there's PTO. There's 401k match. There's a lot of different things. And sometimes they absolutely do have leverage over these other kind of non-monetary things like time off. If they can't meet you on the salary, maybe they can throw in some extra PTO or something like that. So consider the total rewards package and not just the base salary if they can't meet you there. And then here's something else. Negotiate a 90-day salary review. This is probably something you didn't know about, but this I've seen this happen. Some companies do it automatically. Sometimes you can ask for it. If all else fails, though, and the employer truly cannot or will not provide the salary you're looking for, but you still want to accept the job, there is one recourse that you may have. You can ask them before you firm up the offer if there can at least be a 90-day performance evaluation for you with a salary review. So you'd sit down with your boss at, the 60-day, maybe even 90-day, I think might be better, point, and do a formal review of your performance and do a salary review. And if you do go this route, be sure that it's written into the job offer that this is going to happen. If it's not on paper, it may not happen, right? So try that. Just ask them if they'll do that. I think it's a sign of a good company culture if they are willing to do this. And like I said, some companies automatically do that. They automatically, for every new hire, they do a 90-day review. And it's really, really a great thing. So there, you guys have it. That was another meaty episode. I hope that helps you. And I'm sure you can understand and appreciate truly how complex this issue is. I actually had a client I'm coaching just last week, I think, emailed me a compensation question because he's relocating, got a job offer within the company he's in, but in a different location, kind of across the country. And it's a different cost of living. There's state income tax differences. It's really complex. And so it just kind of reminded me how crazy this issue is sometimes. But I hope this broke it down for you a little bit. Okay. So we're going to wrap up episode 19. I hope you loved it. And please don't forget to connect with me via my Facebook group, Career Uprising. And you can also get on my weekly newsletter where I have lots of goodies. You can go to worksmartcounseling.com to learn more about all the awesome ways, honestly, that you can stay connected with me and get even more help in your career for no cost at all. Right. There's so many things I give away so much for free. It's good. I've got the blog. I've got the Facebook group. I've got the podcast. I even have a YouTube channel. A lot of people don't know that. I don't have a ton of followers on it, but I do have a handful of videos. So if you're more of a video person, you can always go that route. There's so many different avenues that I have to kind of support you, and you should explore them all. But I'm going to be back next week with an awesome episode. I'm going to be out of town, guys, in the great land of Idaho. It'll be my first time there visiting some family, and I will have a pre-recorded episode, but I'll be interviewing a successful graduate of my career transformation program. I'm so excited to interview this client. He was unemployed for a year, but he still secured a terrific job offer and with a pay increase. It even blew my mind. How did he do it? Well, you're going to have to listen, guys, next week and find out, all right? Hear my interview with my client. But until then, guys, as always, I want you to go out there, be magnificent, and I will talk to you next time. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard today, please consider giving the show a positive review on iTunes. It would mean a lot to me, and it would help to spread the word so that others can learn about the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you again next time on Career Uprising.
This show is brought to you by inflowradio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.